With love from Vietnam, this is the 2024 Vinfast VF8. It is the company's mid-sized crossover SUV kind of thing. It's all electric, and prices in Canada start for the Eco at $53,600. For the better trim level called the Plus, you have to go to $59,200. You can add a more powerful drivetrain for another $1,500, which gives you 402 horsepower instead of 349, and 457 pound-feet of torque instead of 369, but the range drops to 354 kilometers instead of 425. I'm going to warn you right off the bat that this car has a lot of serious problems, but it also has a lot of really good things. So let's look at the positive side, and let's cover the good stuff first. Well, first of all, it's a good-looking vehicle. I mean, it does have a lot of elements from other vehicles that I know. Like, for example, the front looks like a modern-day Renault. The rear is a copy from the Cupra 4 Mentor. On the side, it's not too bad, has big wheels, and it's designed by Pininfarina. Only there's no Pininfarina signature on it like he usually does, but okay, never mind. It's 4.75 meters long. The wheelbase is just under 3 meters. Ground clearance is 175 millimeters or 6.8 inches. Towing capacity, because it can actually tow, is up to 4,000 pounds or 1.8 tons. Under the, not hood, but shell, there's an 87.7 kilowatt hour battery. It's a dual motor EV, so it's all-wheel drive. And 0 to 100 kilometers an hour comes in 5.6 seconds. The reverse, we'll talk about it later because it's part of the bad stuff. So the good stuff about it is that on the road it feels like a regular car and not something extravagant. Inside, the materials are quite nice. The thing is quite nicely built. Fit and finish is good. So regarding looks and design, I think it's very acceptable. Like, nobody will really hate it or say, ugh. The power is also pretty good, even if you just get the Eco or the Plus or the extra oomph. Handling is pretty okay. I mean, it's not a sporty car, but it does take corners quite well, except bump steer, which we'll cover later. Roominess inside is pretty good too. I mean, for its exterior size, I have plenty of room up here. I have nice cup holders, a wireless charger. The door has a decent sized bin. I have extra storage under here. No complaints whatsoever. Passengers in the rear have adequate room as well for the feet, the knees, and the head. 3 passengers will fit quite nicely. No issues there, and the rear seats are also heated. They can also recline. And the trunk has a power opening, really decent capacity. VinFast doesn't really announce a number, but we found somewhere that it's like 1,325 liters. That's a little bit too much, but anyway, it's a good trunk, but it's nothing special. The good thing is that under the front hood, there is a frunk. Thank you. Finally, somebody is copying Tesla. And they didn't copy Tesla only for the front, but also the screen is very Tesla-like, but we're going to cover that later. Practicality-wise, this is a pretty practical car since you can lift the tail back and put the seats down and you can load whatever you want in here, and you have plenty of storage for stuff, so all good there. Also, the range is also pretty decent, 425, not bad at all. We saw 430 when we charged it to 100%. Now, the charging, though, is a little bit of a problem, since at home I know that my charger can provide 7.2 kilowatts, but this car was only pulling 6. I'm not sure why, so that made charging a little bit slower. And guess what? That was pretty much it with the positive stuff. Now, on the neutral stuff, let's say, this looks like it's a child that came out of an orgy because, for example, the steering wheel looks like a Jaguar steering wheel, but the buttons on it, they kind of look like a Ford. Now, if you turn the wheel sideways and you look at the indicator stalks and the lights here, like, these are off a BMW. The screen is off a Tesla, the front face is off a Renault, the rear is off a Cupra. So all this mashed up together makes what today is known as the VinFast VF8. And can I also say something? The fonts on the back, where it says VinFast and especially the VF8, those fonts are humongous. They could have done some nicer lettering back here. But now let's cover the real problems because there are plenty. So first of all, the one-pedal driving. They have this profile thing that you can save your seat and whatever. It doesn't really work that well, honestly. Like, it took really many attempts to get it going properly. But anyway, now, as you can see, I'm on a road that's not too smooth, not too bumpy. But this car at slow speeds is really not capable of absorbing anything. So the first thing that needs to get fixed is the suspension at slow speeds. Even when you drive at something extremely flat, like pavement and you know it was just paved, this car will discover like some bumps that don't exist. Like there's like a constant oscillation. Maybe it's sitting too long on these tires and the tires have flat spots. I don't know. Honestly, like at high speeds or over bumpy surfaces, it's completely fine. And it handles completely fine also. There is some bump steer, like under certain circumstances, if you're like turning and you hit a specific type of bump that's like a hump, it might shift the rear end a bit and you'll have to correct the steering, but lots of cars have that problem, so I'm not going to say that it's a big fault with the VinFast, but honestly, the suspension, the only complaint is that at low speeds, it's not really comfortable. Now, one pedal driving, there's creep mode that I keep turning off, but the car keeps putting it back on every time. So if that's the default, then fine, I'm gonna keep creep mode on. But when you're like uphill, the car will roll back a lot. And I realized that the programming of the throttle pedal, so look at this, okay? So let's say I'm at a red light now and I want to take off. That's like a full second that the car doesn't respond. Okay, let's do this again. You ready? And gas. That is really slow. I'm constantly being left behind at every traffic light because any other car next to me just takes off so much faster than me. And even if you kick down, I can do a kick down and the car doesn't even have time to respond. It's really funny. I mean, when you do kick down and you hold it, there's good power. Okay, I have no complaints for the power, but the programming of the pedal and how it works, so there's a little bit of a downhill now, okay? Let me show you something really funny now. So this is now, the car is pointing downhill. I'm gonna put the car in reverse, okay? Any other EV, the moment I let go of the brake, is gonna stay right there until I give it some input to go backwards. Now I'm gonna let go of the brakes, and it's gonna creep up. But if I turn off creep, okay, I'm gonna go here, put creep off. Now look what's gonna happen. I'm gonna let go of the gas, of the brake, and the car starts rolling forwards. It's in reverse, but it's rolling forwards. And one pedal, the like thing is like on, like full regen. So honestly, the programming of the one pedal driving and the throttle pedal itself needs complete rework. So whatever they've done, they need to just crumble up the paper, throw it out the window, do it all over again. Now, let's talk about the glass quality a little bit, because the side mirror, the windshield, especially around the edges, it's just terrible. Like it's so wavy. Like, honestly, pretty bad. You can also see it on the heads-up display. Like if you move your head up and down, it's kind of like distorting. It's like getting crushed or extended or whatever. Like heads-up display itself looks okay, but the way that you move your head around and it's all wobbly and like the aspect ratio changes, like that's terrible. The rear view camera has terrible quality and the frame rate is like terrible. So especially when you have CarPlay connected, it gets even worse. So you know what? Cameras, we need some new stuff here, SOS. Now, let me walk you through a bit the exit process. So let's say that I am now parked and I want to get out of the car. The way to turn off the car is to put it in park, set the parking brake, which it did automatically, and now the only way to turn it off is to get out and lock it. But the moment I take off my seatbelt, it's complaining that it says fasten seatbelt. Why? I'm getting out of the car. The car's in park. Why do you need to chime? It's just so annoying that you can't exit the car without hearing the dong, dong, dong. And speaking about exiting and entering the car, the only door handle that is comfort access enabled is the driver door. The button is very finicky. Sometimes it doesn't even work and you have to pull out the key and use the key. And regarding the key, the fonts, like the icons here, they're so freaking small. And like the lock and the unlock, the difference is like a little nanometer in between here. So really, I can't tell anything. And it's not a very good key, to be honest. It just doesn't work very well. And I hate the fact that, for example, if I get out and then go on the other side, I can't unlock or lock the car. It's just, I don't like it at all. Then there's the gearbox selector here. It's also pretty slow. So sometimes, I'm like going in reverse, and then like I'm done reversing and I try to park the car, and then I want to go to drive. Like it just, there's a delay that it won't do it, okay? Once, I'm not sure, I think I pressed park, but the car stayed in reverse. That could have just been me pressing reverse, I'm not too sure, but anyway, this doesn't work that well either. As I said, the driver profile setting thing needs a lot of work because it's just too difficult to figure out how to save your seat, whatever. Now, adjusting your stuff, like your mirrors and your steering, whatever, it's a copy from Tesla, so not too bad. It's just very unfortunate that the creep mode is not saved in the profile, so it always defaults back to on. Now, the rear seat belt sits in a position where it's right against that little plastic bit. So the stop where it keeps the buckle is at the worst possible place, because every time you drive, this buckle, if you don't have anyone in the back seat, rattles over this hard plastic. Very freaking annoying. As is general rattles inside the car. There's some squeaking, there's some rattling. Like on the road, it's just not the best interior, especially in an EV where you hear everything. Like they could have done a little bit better job. And now, last but not least, let me tell you about the driving assistance. So the driving assistance, the cruise control, the adaptive cruise works quite well, minus the fact that setting it and unsetting it is really confusing, because usually you have the master, the main cruise control button on and off, and then you can set your speed, and then you can cancel the whole thing by turning cruise control off completely. You can't do that from here. You have to press cancel to turn it off, and nothing else will turn it off. The worst part is if you press the little steering button on the side, which actually steers for you. Now, on purpose, I'm on a road with a little bit of a rough surface, because I want to show you that other cars here are much smoother than this. Like, everything is shaking, and I'm doing 45 kilometers an hour. Anyway, I was saying, the driving assistance, oh my God, like, it's just, like, dangerous. Like, at some point, the car almost wanted to steer out of the lane. Like, thank God I caught it. And yeah, it was really scary. So no more driving assistance. I turned everything possible off. And I'm like, see you later. Like, bye-bye. None of that's going to happen. Thankfully, most of the problems with this car can be solved with software updates. So based on the fact that they do some amazing leasing deals, okay, so if you want to lease one and hope that, in the future they'll have like an update that will make things work, then that's great. I just want to demonstrate now that I'm going uphill. I am in creep mode off, okay? I'm going to stop the vehicle. Let's say I'm stuck in traffic. And let's say that now the car in front of me has moved. I'm going to let go of the brake, and look what's going to happen now. The car is going to roll backwards. I'm going to let go of the brake. It's going to roll backwards, and then when I step on the throttle, it's going to accelerate. If I put creep mode on and I stop and I let go of the brake, again, it's barely creeping up. Okay, at least that works. All right, but yeah, keep creep mode on. I'm a creep. So the car wants it that way. Probably knows something better. So, okay, I left it on. Although I don't like creep in EVs, because what happens with creep in EVs, when you do one pedal driving and you let go of the throttle, then you have to step on the brakes to actually stop the car. So forget one pedal driving here. You always need to use the brakes. The other very big problem is the brakes. So when we do our regular brake test from 100 to 0, usually like a good average is like around 40 meters. Anything above is getting meh, anything below is really good. This one stopped in 45 meters, which is not good at all. But the problem is not that it did 45 meters. The problem is that as it was stopping, it was all over the freaking road. It was going left, it was going right. You could feel the ABS act on every individual wheel. The car was just out of whack.
The gods have smiled upon me! I live to see another day!
So, not very comforting as far as brakes. The pedal feels okay, but the actual brakes, like the braking, not the best. Anyway, so overall, what do I have to say about this Vinfast VF8? It's not a terrible car. Especially if you get a good deal on it. I don't think it's terrible at all. Hopefully, all the problems will be solved with software updates. Vinfast is a company that takes customer feedback and they keep testing themselves. So everything will get better. I promise you that, especially the VF9 and the other cars that are coming. I'm sure they'll iron out all the problems. But as far as the VF8 goes, I do feel like we're beta testers right now. So this is not really a review of the vehicle. It's more like beta testing for me to tell you what needs to get fixed. The last thing I want to tell you is that there's a lot of faults going on. So every time I start the car, I get fault for wireless charger, fault for parking sensors, fault for backup camera, fault for self-driving stuff, fault for this, fault for that. Like I constantly have some lights on here, and it's like literally the car can't decide if everything is fine or everything is not fine. So that's a little bit of a problem. Again, I'm pretty sure a software update will solve all that, so not too worried. Overall, should you buy this car? Absolutely not. At least not yet. I wouldn't recommend you touch it at all, especially at the price point. Now you can get a lot of stuff. You can get a Tesla Model 3, the brand new one is a great car. So if you want an EV at this price point, unfortunately, this is not it. But if you want to lease it and you like the terms that VinFast gives you, well then I say you can risk that, be a bit different, support the company, because I really like the company. It's a very likable company, this VinFast, guys. So I like them. They use very modern stuff, but it is a bit rushed. Hopefully they will smoothen out everything in the future. So for now though, stay away. That's all I had to tell you for today with the VinFast VF8. I hope you're all well, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Perfect.